Okay, hello. Hello, welcome back. We're having our last YouTube Live, IG Live combo before the new year. So I hope, before we get into 2023 here, I would like to wish you all, a happy new year. Now, bear with me because, like I said, I'm also doing this on YouTube. As you already noticed, I'm not in my usual location. Whoops. Because I'm visiting somewhere else. What's going on? How we doing, everyone? I'm going to wait for this to go live here. Okay, and I think we're live on YouTube. We're live on IG. So, hello. Welcome. Yes, we are not in our usual location here, but we're gonna make it through that together. So I apologize for the light. I'm kind of trying to do the best I can with like a desk right here. But welcome. Today I'm really excited because this is one of my favorite, I think, things to talk about. Much more so than like the specifics in terms of like the science part of things and how to kind of build stuff. And the reason why that I think this is so much more important is because I do believe that philosophically, now where you stand is much more important in terms of like your healing journey than the specifics as far as what's done. Now, some of what we're going to talk about today is actually in my new ebook, Nature's Kitchen and Cabinet, because, and I might have talked about this last week. Now, my new, the first part of the book is mostly about, becoming more comfortable in the kitchen, building new habits, but then more importantly, like, how do you employ them? Like, what is your perspective? Where is your, energy levels at? All of that stuff is really, really important. And if you're not, taking, inventory on where you're at with that, it's going to be tough on your healing journey. Like where you're at mentally, where you're at, emotionally, are you willing to, make the changes and enjoy the journey, or are you always going to be like the Debbie Downer type? Now, this stuff is really important. And it's particularly important because we're going now on 3 years of psychological abuse from the government and powers that be trying to indoctrinate and force a certain way of life on you. So now more than ever, and I talked about this last week, like if you are trying to maintain and build true vibrant health in 2022 and into 2023, you're going to stand out. You're not going to be the norm when 88% of folks are metabolically unhealthy and over 2/3 are overweight or obese. You're going to stick out. We're in a world now where, kids, these poor kids, over half of them are going to have a chronic illness that they might not ever recover from. And it starts, with the philosophy here. And if you don't have that, it's really going to be tough. So where we need to start today is going into 2023 is, what are the things we're going to add? What are, or how do we go about setting goals? Because, the thing about goals is that's going to be, how we're able to get to where we go, whether it's from a health standpoint, whether it's from, a job or career standpoint, from a relationship standpoint, friends and family, financial standpoint. Like if we don't have goals, it's going to be really tough to reach where you're going. And the reason this is so important is, if you'll notice, I mean, I don't have it here because I'm not home, but you'll notice in the background of most of my videos is I have a whiteboard that I update every month. And with the goals for that month. So monthly, I am reevaluating, figuring out where I'm at. Did I reach too far? Did I blow past my goals, or did I not reach them? And I have to reevaluate every month, because then I'm able to figure out, do I have to change something? What's working? How do I go? How do I make changes? So, with that in mind, I do believe for any goal that's worthwhile, again, health related, I do believe if it's, financial related, business related, relationship related, and everything in between, it's going to take work and planning out and thought, and real effort put in. So there's like a few techniques like I kind of wanted to talk about, and I want to put this stuff in perspective here. So one of the big things, particularly in the health space, that we have issues with is this concept of like genetics, and how genetics, a lot of people are bamboozled by this idea that genetics essentially are going to run your life, and they dictate kind of your health outcomes, when this is not true in over like 95% of cases. Now, genetics do play a role to a degree. As you might know, one of the techniques that I use is iridology, and part of that is what you can do is look into and see the potential genetic strengths and weaknesses of each person. Now, this does not mean it's not a diagnostic tool. It's something you can use to see, A, like where does this person come from, but B, what are their potential inherent strengths and weaknesses, what places might need support, you might have to pay more attention to than other people, compared to other people. So it's really cool for that, and I really, enjoy using it because I think it's a way for others to like learn about their own experience and how they kind of fit into kind of this world and this role. I mean, you'll know that like the eyes are essentially the window into the soul, and I very much kind of practice like that, and there's a lot you can learn if you're willing to kind of look at it. Now, as far as genetics go, with epigenetics is the much more important part here, and this is epi. If you look at it, epi means above genetics, literally above genetics. So, what epigenetics are is how we react, how we adapt to the environment that we're exposed to. And while we might have, certain predispositions towards certain things, that doesn't necessarily mean that those things are going to manifest in real life. What does happen, though, is based on the environment, based on our physical, chemical, emotional stresses, certain things can come into fruition, and then we have the power to either address those, look at where we're at, figure out is what we are doing serving us or not, and then make the changes appropriately. Now, what's important here is giving yourself the time to do it, but also understanding that it's always a process. There's always this pull of opposites here, right? Like it's the concept in Chinese medicine of yin and yang. Yin and yang, right? Because there's always opposing forces working towards something, and we're finally, I think, learning a little bit about that as far as it pertains to like the microbiome and how it's more of an ecosystem versus a just strict cause and effect thing. Now, the best information we have right now really tells us that it takes roughly like 66 days to build a new habit on average. So before it becomes something automatic that we do. So it's really important to give yourself, the time, set yourself up for long-term success, if you want to kind of make some changes long-term. So setting intentions and following through. And again, this is in my ebook. You can find this in my bio, Nature's Kitchen and Cabinet. There's a section called How to Set Intentions and Follow Through. I'm going to just kind of breeze through that towards the end of this. But it's a really important exercise I think everyone should do every year or twice a year or once a quarter maybe, to reevaluate where you're at. Do you have to change the path you're on to get to where you want to go? What needs to be done? Because the truth is with goals, there aren't really any bad goals. That's just bad timelines. You can get what you need to done if you give yourself the time to do it and the leeway to do it. So, and it starts with I think figuring out kind of where you're at. Now, I want you to kind of take a second here and think, And just like reflect, what would you, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you want to do? Would you, go back to school and take a course that you wanted to? Would you travel the world? Would you write a book? Would you open that business that you've always wanted to do? These things we tend to stay away from. Is it a certain health goal? Is it, losing weight? Or is it getting rid of joint pain? Or is it, fixing your gut? What stops you from doing it? Like if you knew you couldn't fail? Because the thing is, we have to become more comfortable with stepping out of our comfort zone. That is where truly the magic is made. It is being comfortable with getting uncomfortable and stepping out of that, getting out of your own head really is what it is. So getting uncomfortable, being okay with that is really important, because if you don't make those changes, if you don't look at things a little differently, you're going to realize that not a lot of things are going to change. And remember, there are no real unrealistic goals. There's just unrealistic timelines. So, and we'll talk about, something that we can do. I'll talk about, an exercise that I like that I'll share with you in a second. I didn't come up with it, but we'll talk about it. The first thing I think that's really important is reflecting on where you're at. So, if we're going into 2023, it's important to break down the areas of your life that, where you're at and do it. So, for example, like you can break it down. There's a chart I like. I'm actually looking at it that I use all the time. It's broken up into 8 sections. And there's the business career bullet point. There's finances. There's health, family and friends, romantic life, personal growth, fun and recreation, and then physical environment. So those are the 8 sections. And you rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, kind of where you're at. And this is something you can track, year in and year out, which of these areas of my life are improving, which are going backwards, maybe family and friends and romance got a bit worse the last couple of years, considering I'm sure a lot of folks have had issues, bonding with family members or maybe losing family members in terms of, having the ability to communicate. Maybe it's gotten closer because you found new friends that you never probably would have otherwise. All has to be put in the perspective of you. But anyway, I like starting with those 8. Again, career, finances, health, family, friends, romantic life, personal growth, fun, recreation, and then physical environment. So, maybe if for physical environment, for example, maybe over the past 2 years you got kicked out of your apartment and you're living on your parents' couch, then that's probably not a great physical environment. But maybe that couch is a good environment if you got out of a toxic relationship, and that's better than where you were. So context matters is my point. And the goal is to rate yourself year after year, so you can start checking kind of where you're at, which things are improving, which things aren't, and you can keep track. Now, as far as like what you can do is there's an exercise, and there's a few exercises that you can do, but it starts first with identifying whatever those desires you have are. And they could be big or small, they could be specific, general. It really doesn't matter. What's worth doing is trying to dig deeper and understand why you desire something. Is it because you want a specific outcome? Is it the feeling of the outcome? You have to get clear with what you want before you start. And one of the ways to do that is there is a exercise you can do, and it's called 100 Things to Do, Be, or Become. And you're going to take, a piece of paper, a piece of loose leaf, and you're going to number 100 lines. And on each one of those lines, and this could take you a few hours to do, you're going to write down 100 things you're going to do, be, or become. Now, these have to be tangible things, right? They can't be, I want to, be happier in 2023. But it could be as big or grandiose as you want. And it could be, maybe I want to learn how to speak Spanish, or I want to continue to learn how to continue to build my business and reach different financial milestones. It can be whatever. It could be I want to go visit, Egypt and visit the pyramids. And then once you're done, once you get to 100, what you do is next to each one, you're going to write the number 1, the number 5, the number 10, and this is going to be based essentially on the number of years. So you think it will take you. So what you can do is say like, oh, for me, maybe it would take me 5 years to get better at Spanish, but I can do maybe 5 or 10 minutes a day. And, in 5 years, maybe I can be able to have like a conversation and hold it and not have to like look things up. From a business standpoint, it can be more specific. Maybe I want to hit a financial goal. So it can get more specific. And again, you want to number each of these 1, 5, and 10. And then you want to choose the top 15. Now, 5 from the 1-year category, 5 from the 5-year category, and 5 from the 10-year category. And then you're going to kind of write these down and create, some people will call it a vision board. You can use, a whiteboard like I use. Write them down. And this is where, repetition and your belief system begins to come in. So, belief is essentially like, you have to perceive it first, right? You have to have the idea. Then you need evidence of it happening. And then you need the time for it to happen. Because remember, there are no unrealistic goals. It's just unrealistic timelines. So perceiving it's the start. Writing it down, making it real is the start. You have to write it down. You can speak it. You can do it with affirmations. You can do it, with incantations or chants. But you have to at least write it down. I cannot tell you, it sounds so stupid and silly, but once I started writing down different business goals and holding myself accountable, things got a lot better fairly quickly. Now, it didn't happen overnight, but it kept myself accountable and not in some esoteric, arbitrary space for it to start to grow and build. Same thing here on growing a following on social media. I had a goal to get to say like 10,000, a following of 10,000 in a year, and it was 20. And that was only through stepping out of my comfort zone, doing lives, meeting people that really were mostly responsible for the growth of my accounts, especially in the beginning. It wasn't anything I was doing. It was the fact that I was stepping out and other people were giving me an opportunity to speak. It's really important that we kind of get that in mind. Speaking it into existence is a real thing. So saying it every day is really important. This is where something like neuro-linguistic programming, if you look into it, is really useful. Now, part of neuro-linguistic programming is posture, body posture. So how you stand, how you present yourself, really important, because you're not going to see too many, real people in like a depressed mood with, their chest out, their head high, and not sulking over kind of like this. It's really, really, important in terms of like how it's of how you present yourself. And the more you write it down, the more you speak it, the more you start to believe in itself that it's real. And you will start taking actions towards it. But it starts with getting to a point where we write it down, we begin to make it real, and then act upon it in a timeline that makes the most sense. Affirmations, we talked about that earlier. It could be a thing, but it also could be, affirmations could be, they're usually short I am statements, right? So if health is one of your goals, you have to say, I am healthy, I am vibrant, I am healing, I am regenerating. Like, these are things that you can, I am intelligent, I am strong, like I am rejuvenating my body. I would say that as you continue to repeat these, as you continue to say them, you will start believing them, and you will start making and taking more actions in that direction. But it starts with the constant repetition. There is no magical, one thing you can do. The magic really is in the repetition and the discipline of it. Discipline's gonna beat it out every time. You have to, stick with it, even if it sounds silly, even if it sounds stupid. If you don't try it, you have to give it a shot. And so, that's part of it. Getting clear with with who you are and then who you have to be. Now, again, this goes back with being comfortable. Part of this is gonna be breaking out of that comfort zone, getting clear with that. So you have to write down maybe some of these qualities that are that person that achieved this goal. What are some of the qualities that person has? Is that person dedicated? Is that person disciplined? Is that person maybe a little bit more extroverted than you are right now to get to that point? From there, now it's like how you put it into action. That starts with, what are the action steps? So once you have an idea of where you're at, once you have an idea of who the person is you want to be, and you start living it because you keep telling yourself you are, then it's how you do it. And it starts with getting specific in terms of what those action steps are. And we're going to talk about SMART goals in a second. But if it's health, maybe it's I'm going to go to the gym, 4 to 5 hours this week, 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. I might have to start making dinner or making breakfast, 3 or 4 days a week. I am going to fix my circadian rhythm. So I'm going to start going to bed 15 minutes earlier each week until I get to a point where I have eliminated being a night owl. So all of these things are things you can work for. The point is, get specific with them, have quantifiable measures attached to them, and then grade yourself and be honest. That is how you start achieving them. Limiting beliefs, these are huge. Again, this comes with part of stepping out of your comfort zone. You can reframe your mindset by finding evidence to support whatever you want in this current reality. So again, if we take, the health example, it's, okay, can we get to, 5 hours of exercise and a week? It's okay, well, I know I can get, 15 minutes, in the morning of going on a walk. I know I can, if I'm shifting my sleep schedule, I can book in, a half hour in the morning. So, and I can already do that. So it's not that it's stopping me. It's how do you start stacking these things, and then the limiting beliefs start to kind of start washing away. So the intention's really important, and it's also important to kind of make sure that, we are holding ourselves accountable the whole way. Now, speaking of holding ourselves accountable, this is where I like using the SMART method. The SMART method is one of my favorite ways to help kind of learn and relearn, I guess, how to, build goals. So, and SMART is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timing. So we'll break down each of those. So the first is getting specific. Now, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but it consists of the 5 W's. It's what do you want? What do I have? What do you want to accomplish? Why is this goal important to you? Who is involved? Is it something just for you? Are there other people that have to buy in? If, for example, if you're running your own business, where is it located? Is it something you can do anywhere, or is it something that is part of your life that you take with you? If it's a brick and mortar store or something like that, then obviously it's going to be a location. And then which resources are needed, or which are at my disposal? Is it financial? Is it time? Is it, again, other people? What are the things you need? So get specific, write them down, what is needed, and that's going to already help, because that's going to lead to the M in SMART, which is measurable. Now, again, we already talked about the importance of having measurable, tangible goals. You have to have something that brings it back into reality, that you can quantify, am I on a path to success or not? So, how much of something or how many of something you might need, how much time will it take? Quantitative and qualitative measures can work. So quantitative, for example, if we're talking about, different types of, say, health type things. Yes, you can use weight, but there's other things. You can use BMI, you can use muscle mass. You could use athletic performance, say, in terms of like sprint speed or running speed, or how high you can jump. It could be any of those. How many glasses of water a day you drink. How many servings of fruits and vegetables you have a day. Blood pressure. How much time you spend moving. How many hours are you sleeping? So all of these are different quantitative measures. There's many more you can use, especially now with the advent of things like continuous glucose monitors and other wearable tech that you can quantify more things. There are also qualitative measurements, which are a bit more subjective. Now, this is where I like using, say, something like a food journal, so you can kind of write down a little bit of like how you feel, and you can kind of keep track of like where you are, how you feel, what is serving you, and how you go from there. But a lot of this is going to take some introspection. The A is achievable. So, and you're looking to answer kind of a couple questions here. One is, how are you going to accomplish this goal? And then 2 is, how realistic is it in terms of like financial factors, time? Again, this is where the 100 things to do, be, or become is really important, because you can kind of put time constraints on it if you need it, or give yourself a ballpark. Relevant. So how relevant is the goal? So relevant goals should have positive answers. Like if you're going to answer the question, is it worthwhile? Ideally, you would get a yes. If it's not, then maybe it's not a goal for you right now. Is this the right time? Now, there's going to be no perfect time, but getting after it is really important. Are the efforts I'm putting in on par with where I'm trying to get to? And if it is, that's a good thing. And is it applicable for long term? Is it something that you can, do for long term? Maybe it is something that you want to do. The other thing is timing. So again, and we talked about this a little bit, but putting a time frame on goals is really important to help keep you on track and on pace. This is why, again, like I rewrite my goals every single month, because I want to know, A, if I'm hitting them. If I'm not, why am I not? And then the other part is, do I need to pivot? Do I need to try something else? Do I need to add something? Do I need to subtract something that's going to be more helpful? So all of this stuff, it's really about balancing. It's really about, finding what works for you and getting really honest with yourself and diving deeper into what's going to work. So I would suggest trying those exercises, the 100 things to do, be, become. I would look into SMART goals, try those going into 2023, and really take this stuff seriously. Like, be honest with yourself at what you value now and what you want to value. And if you think those things need to change, now's the time to do it. There's never a better time than now, as far as, getting to where you want to go and improving and, making your health a priority. I genuinely believe that. And it just starts, with writing things down, repeating them, and staying, really on top of, kind of where we're going to go here. So, thank you for your time. I appreciate you, tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one. Bye. Okay, so that is done. I hope that helps clear some things up, and I hope going into 2023 that there are some goals, available for you that you can, learn, take advantage of, and then, really kind of strive for. I know what I'm striving for in 2023. I'm really excited about it. Kind of got started with that earlier this year with launching the ebook and a course, and I want to do more stuff like that to kind of bring it to you. Before I go real quick, I just wanted to say, thank you for all of you for spending some time with me. You guys are really the reason that I kind of continue to do this and share. And I know there's some value in it because, I get messages every day, and it really makes, this really worthwhile. If you really want to get started, I have some of these, one of these exercises you could do. It's actually in my ebook, Nature's Kitchen and Cabinet, if you want to check it out. I think it's a good one. It explains how to do it. I wish you all nothing but the best in 2023. Even you, Christine, always. And yeah, I will see you on a live at some point, probably early next year. Until then, have a happy new year, and I'll see you then.